Question everything. So what happened in Seattle's grocery store parking lot, that sucks badly all the time. We don't never want to see no sort of loss of anyone off the planet because life is precious. You only get one life to live. No matter what you think or what you can do in this life, there's nothing greater than just living it. Try having $1 billion, but you don't got a life. In other words, you're not living. You can't spend $1 billion. Try having a mansion, but you don't have no life. Then that means you can't live in a mansion. Try having anything, a nice car with sitting on 28s. No life, you can't drive it. It's just here and you're not here. You know what I mean? It'd be material here, your ass off the planet. So with that stated, life is more precious than pretty much anything you could possibly imagine. Your brand new Jordans you got on, that diamond chain you're wearing, there's nothing that is greater than being able to be alive, in other words. But to hear what has happened in Seattle, that sucks. They keep saying gun violence, we must stop gun violence. But is it really the gun that's causing the violence? Is it the gun causing the violence? Have you ever came outside and seen a Glock running down the street by itself just looking for victims, or AK-47 just strolling along the street corridors by itself looking for victims? That doesn't make any sense, right? Exactly. So it couldn't be the gun itself that's causing this violence. What would you think caused this type of violence in our society? Would it have anything to do with the promotion of violence in our society? Do you think promoting violence and acting out violence on national levels when it comes to TV screens and movie theater screens and all these different televisions that we have, from the cell phones to you name it, video recording and so on, do you think the acting out of violence in the form of movies promoting violence have anything to do with the violent outcome of society? Do you think if you show violence to people on a numbers level, if you show violence enough to individuals on a day-to-day basis, do you think any one out of the people on a numbers level would actually commit violence? Excuse me. Do you think that's a possibility? Because if it is, then think about 7 billion people on the planet, and every time you turn on TV, you're watching some sort of what they call action. Not the action of my hands, but the action of what they call action TV in the form of violence being promoted to you. Just imagine 7 billion people able to see actors promoting violence through action movies on a regular basis, and what that would do in a numbers game of amount of people watching it that may play out that violence. Don't you think there's a reality there? That if you promote it, then eventually out of 7 billion people, you're going to get some people that does it. Even if you got 1% of 7 billion people, woo, that's a lot of people that took on what they seen as actors who get paid millions of dollars to promote violence into the TV screens and movie theaters and entertainment world for you to see that 1% of 7 billion actually going to act out. Who would you be mad at? The 1% of the 7 billion that acted it out because it was promoted to 7 billion people on a regular basis? Or would you be upset with the people that's promoting it and acting it out for 7 billion people to see it? These are questions and thoughts that you got to have when you say there is gun violence and you never seen a gun run down the street by itself. Just like gangster rap. Is it okay that your radio stations play music that actually promotes violence? crime, drug dealing. Is it okay for that to be on the radio promoting to hundreds of millions of people without the thought that in the numbers game of hundreds of million people to hear this type of music, you're going to get a percentage of people that's going to act on that music? It's programming. The subconscious and conscious collects things, all sorts of genres of things, and it goes all up in here. And if you're young and you're a minor and you're a young adult, you're still forming your reality, and all this other googly goggly stuff is just feeding your brain that they're pushing out from adults, mind you, who's controlling the industries that promotes this stuff, who gets money off of promoting it to all these different young minors and young adults and teenagers, and it's all in their brain, and it's got to spill out somewhere. Wouldn't you think, as adults with gray hairs and parents out there? Wouldn't we think that? And who do you get mad at? The teenagers and young adults who's trying to form this mind and this brain and this setup of who they're going to be one day. Is their fault that they're being pumped all this googly gog on a regular basis? How do that work? See, violence starts with the promotion of violence. If you're willing to promote violence to your empire, to your kingdom, to your country, then eventually the numbers game on the amount of people that's in that country is going to play out a certain percentage of people that does that violence that you promote. That's not intelligent thinking, guys. That's just what it is. It shouldn't be rocket science. But here we are. All these people that's getting paid millions of dollars while your ass is broke at home, promoting all this sort of craziness. The horror station, just imagine watching a horror station with your eyes open like this all day long, till years of just violent horror movies, and that's all you see. On a percentage level of that, how many people you think might just play out that horror violence that they've been watching all their life, and that's all they're seeing? They know this, guys. They know this 100%. How? Because I'm sitting right here and I know it. Don't gotta go to Harvard, Yale, or Princeton to understand this stuff. It's just in a reality. And if you don't know it, guess what? Now you can think about it. Because at the end of the day, if you want to stop violence in your community, you first start protesting and boycotting the violence that's being pushed through the TV screens, the video games, the cartoons, and the radio stations that they're promoting to you and getting rich off of you as they do it. And then in turn, dodge the hijack that you need to be protesting the violence out on the street, because you can't protest violence out on the street until you protest violence that's being promoted by the system itself. And when you do that, then you can check violence on the street, because it's a domino effect. What trickles up from above, the rich and wealthy coming down to the poor, trickles up from above, from the rich and wealthy coming down to the poor, you can change it. But you first got to stop where it's coming from. Stop the dripping from above, and then the puddle will not fill up from below. That's just the reality to it. And with that, we got to start there. This is how we save and stop violence and save lives, by stopping the promotion of violence on all these airwaves. And it won't be in the minds of the people as much, in the minds of the children as much, confusing them, in the ears of the children as much, pushing all sorts of rhetoric that they may play out because they're adolescents. But hey, that's me talking to you, right? Well, let your conscience talk to you and start to ponder on it and think about it and tell your appointed representatives what you think about it. Because at the end of the day, I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. But that is the question. You let me know. Peace, peace.